am not going to be speaking about any kind of humanitarian events, any armed conflict or natural disasters, but I hope it's interesting to you. Anyways, begin here. Every line on this map is a transfer of a detainee through the largest detention system in the world. ICE, which is immigration enforcement, transfers civil immigration detainees throughout a network of about 1,500 criminal detention facilities. And they do this without informing the families or attorneys of these detainees. So there's a lot of human rights concerns with this, especially concerning the right to defend against deportation, to access your attorney, your evidence, your support network. And at Human Rights Watch, we had published on this with qualitative information, but we knew that we needed to have some quantitative and visual displays of just how big this system is and how many people are affected. And so to do that, we had to get data. This is data that only ICE has. So after months of going back and forth with ICE through a Freedom of Information Act request, we received a huge data set of 5.4 million records. It wasn't what we asked for exactly. We asked for information about detainees. What we received was a bunch of lines of events, of transfers, of releases, of deportations, with no ID variable. We were able to eventually figure out, with the variables we did have, with the ordering of the database, we used a process called record linkage to sort all of these events by individual and to group them all together. When we were able to do that, we were able to see everything about everybody who had been detained over 10 years. How many times these people had been detained, how many times they'd been deported, how many times they had been transferred from facility to facility, how many facilities they were in. And so we needed to figure out a way to display all this information that would be really effective for our advocacy purpose, which was to get the policy changed. And so mapping was really effective for this. It was really important for us to show just how pervasive this policy really is, how many transfers take place, how many facilities there are, the distance that people are transferred. We were able to create a baseline cost estimate for each transfer. Crazy cases, we were able to show, okay, most people are being transferred down to the 5th Court Circuit, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi. This has serious human rights concerns. There's the fewer number of immigration attorneys there per detainee. It's a really hostile circuit in immigration proceedings. So mapping was a really good tool for us. We are also able to show real problem cases, like people who have been transferred back and forth across the country, like this detainee, over and over again. We ended up getting a lot of quantitative information to show just how much the use of transfers had increased over the last 10 years. We were able to show that transferred detainees are held 3 times as long as non-transferred detainees. This has serious cost implications as well. That 31,000 people had been held for over a year or more in immigration detention. People were transferred on average 400 miles. And so just presenting this stuff isn't enough to really get to your advocacy goal if your advocacy goal is policy change. You need to tailor it a little bit. And one lesson from this exercise was that even though immigration enforcement is a federal issue that happens nationwide, tailoring our advocacy goal to the state level was really effective, showing how one state would transfer the same amount of people and receive the same amount of people from another state. When you show that to local media and local politicians, it really gets the wheels of reform spinning. And so that was a real important lesson for this. And I'm telling this story because we were able to go from a problem to data to analysis and mapping to advocacy to policy change. In January of this year, ICE issued a directive to minimize these types of transfers, due in large part to the lead researcher, Allison Parker, who's the US director at Human Rights Watch. And why are we here? Well, to spark conversation about what kinds of non-humanitarian events can benefit from all of the tools and, well, the knowledge that's in this room. And also to remind everybody that with all this focus on real-time data, sometimes this historic data, government data, open and closed government data can be really effective to achieve your purpose. And so my colleague Enrique and I are working with this data again in an independent project, Human Rights Research Lab. We're interested in data analysis, technology, scientific methods for human rights research. So if that interests you, come talk to us. Thanks.